What is up, everybody? Minnesota Airsoft here with yet another awesome video for you guys. Today we are going to be unboxing and reviewing the EMG Hudson H9 gas blowback pistol, which was sent to us from our good friends over at Evike. Now, before we begin, I do want to let you all know that we have a link going directly to this pistol down in our description below, so if you want to check it out after the video's done, feel free to make your life a little bit easier. Alrighty, that's enough talking, let's get this video started. So here we have exactly what showed up to us from Evike, and this is what you can expect to see when you order one for yourself. You can see that we have a matte green box similar to that of most EMG pistols, with the Hudson logo nice and big on the front. Opening it up, we can now see the gun itself, which does come wrapped in a plastic bag, just like the magazine, and they're both held in place by this plastic white tray. Now this tray does allow this box to also double as a temporary gun case, which is super convenient. And underneath this white tray, we have some minimal paperwork and the manual to the gun, which can be accessed via QR code. Okay, picking this thing up out of the box for the first time actually surprised me quite a bit. I was not expecting the gun to feel as slim and sleek as it did, but this thing feels extremely good in the hand, guys. I'm an adult male and I have medium to large-ish hands, and this gun fits perfectly. Another thing that immediately stood out to me was this grip texture. It is something I haven't seen before on any handgun grip, and it's essentially a 1911 grip panel, but they have hundreds of mini intersecting cuts going down it that give it a very smooth but very grippy texture. I already know that this is going to be super nice when handling this pistol. And the last thing that I noticed when I picked this up out of the box and slid in the magazine was just that. The magazine slid into this gun with absolutely zero effort. It feels like there's just silk or something on the inside of the grip that it just effortlessly glides into. Moving on to the aesthetics of this gun, why don't we start with some of the biggest features of the gun first, like the slide, outer barrel, grip, and then frame. So one thing that you should know before we begin with the aesthetics is that Hudson and H9 aren't just some random arbitrary names with no meaning. This airsoft gun is designed to be identical to that of the real steel firearm H9 made by Hudson, except for the fact that it's chambered in 6mm plastic BBs instead of 9mm, of course. Okay, now we're gonna get into the aesthetics of the gun, and let's start with the slide first. The slide included on this gun is an extremely lightweight aluminum with a black surface finish on it, meaning you get all of the benefits that a metal slide has, like realism, durability, and that oh so satisfying clink. It is of course fully trademarked with both the H9 logo on the ejection side here and the Hudson H on the opposite. The slide has two sets of serrations on both sides, meaning that you will get a great grip when racking a BB into the chamber, no matter which way you choose to do so. Now we did find that these cuts work phenomenally, and they're pretty sharp, so that means that they work great even with just your bare hand. Next, we have the Hudson H9's outer barrel, which is metal of course, and it has a glossy black finish. This means that the aluminum slide does not scratch or wear down the barrel when firing, because this glossy finish is also pretty slick. And the final big part of the gun is the lower section of the Hudson H9. The entire frame is actually made out of metal, giving it a very rigid and sturdy feeling. I'm guessing this is the reason that we were so surprised at its build quality when originally taking it out of the box. The lower frame has these two polymer 1911 styled grip panels, which are what have that sweet texture mentioned earlier. And now I'm not really sure why you would want to do this, but they are removable, so maybe you can swap them out or something. And the final thing with the lower end of this gun is of course the big chunky front end. This entire section is essentially empty with the exception of the guide rod and recoil spring, of course. Now the reason that Hudson has the recoil system this low is because in the real steel firearm, it's taking advantage of what's called a low bore axis design. Now a low bore axis helps mitigate the barrel lift when firing and allows you to place those follow-up shots much easier and much faster than if the center of rotation were even a ½ inch higher. However, in Airsoft, you don't really see much barrel lift, So this is kind of just to clone the Hudson's firearm, which in my opinion, they did a phenomenal job with. Moving on from some of those bigger features, let's look into some of their smaller details or smaller features of this gun. Beginning with the iron sights the gun comes with, the rear sight is actually just a pretty standard rear sight, but it does have a pretty glocky look to it in my opinion.
You're not that guy, pal.
The front sight that complements this rear sight is an orange fiber optic, but we did notice that it doesn't have any way of actually catching light from any side like it's supposed to, so it's actually just kind of a dim, dull orange. Kind of a letdown, but really not a big deal. Next, we have our controls, including an ambidextrous slide release, which is pretty rare on pistols, a mag release that can be swapped to either side depending upon your preference, a 1911 style trigger that can only be depressed from the top of the trigger, an optional external thumb safety which is included with the gun, accessory rail for lasers or flashlights underneath, a lanyard mount underneath the grip, and finally your takedown pin and lever seen here. So now that you've seen the gun and you know its background, how much can you expect to pay for this and where the heck can it be found? Well, you guys can get this gun with a green gas or CO2 magazine for $180 on evike.com, which is what we have linked down below for you in the description. They also have a ton of different bundles available, which is pretty nice if you need a spare mag or even a hard shell holster for this unique pistol. Now let's transition into the topic of upgradability. Now with this pistol being as unique and bizarre as it is, you won't be too surprised when we tell you this thing is pretty much non-upgradable. This gun is definitely made to remain as is, and that's about it. You may be able to replace some components like the inner barrel, bucking, and possibly the iron sights, but keep in mind that this is just the wrong platform for you if you're wanting to upgrade a pistol. And that is a pretty nice segue into the next section of this review, where we are going to look at the performance of this pistol. Shooting the Hudson H9 gas blowback pistol with 0.25 gram BBs at about 75 feet, you can begin to see where we had some slight performance issues. Here we have the target in for a closer inspection, and it's just about average, if not a little bit below average for a pistol on today's market. Now 4 out of these 10 shots taken did hit the target within 2 inches of center, but that's about as good as it gets. We only see 9 total shots on the target, and that's because the 10th shot didn't even hit anywhere near the target. Furthermore, 2 of the 10 shots seen on the right hand side of the target didn't even land within the 7-inch circle, meaning this is one of the most inconsistent handguns to date. Now all that might sound bad, but on a positive note, this gun is a blast, guys. It is extremely fun to shoot. It is light, it's sturdy, it feels reliable, and it hasn't jammed or misfed in over 500 rounds. It has a crazy crisp trigger pull and reset, and the recoil on this gun feels intense. It's loud, it's snappy, and it gives you this nice tactile feedback while not taking your sights off the target. This thing is an absolute blast. I highly recommend it just because of this fun factor. Now, as fun as this gun is to shoot, we are still in the performance section of this review, so I do want to circle back to some of those drawbacks that we think may have caused the inconsistent shooting. Now, what we found to be some of the main drawbacks for the Hudson H9's performance is its hop-up, accuracy, and sights. The hop-up in this gun is very difficult to adjust, let alone perfectly tuned to any BB weight. We ended up scraping the inside of the gun and marring the plastic just to spin the wheel a quarter turn. And for the accuracy, you just saw that even at 75 feet, it only landed 7 rounds on target, with 1 completely missing the paper entirely. Not the best for using .25s at 75 feet with 0 wind. And moving on to the sights, we believe that this may have been the primary reason that we couldn't hit a dang thing with this gun. Because as you can see here, the sights are way off of where the BB actually goes. We tried adjusting it and it's still just completely off. And to wrap up the performance section of this review, here's a couple clips of the gun just shooting so that you can hear and see what it's all about. So now that we know that this gun looks super unique and for the most part works pretty good, what about its durability? Well, I'll be completely honest with you guys. With how proprietary this gun is, the first thing I was worried about was that this gun would be very finicky and likely just end up in the scrap bin. However, when the gun arrived to us and we picked it up for the first time, it genuinely shocked us with how crazily nice this build is. It feels very solid, there's very little wiggle besides the outer barrel, and everything seems to be made very, very well. The gun is thin, strong, ergonomic, unique, and so far hasn't had a single malfunction. Even the slide finish on the gun seems to be more durable than other coatings we've seen in the past, which is a huge plus. Now this kind of ties into the durability as well, but replacement parts for this gun are pretty much non-existent. So do with that as you will. Now for the infamous bang for buck rating. This is a very, very strict scale, meaning that a score of 9.5 or 10 will likely never be achieved. And after considering all of the pros and cons with the Hudson H9 gas blowback pistol, we ended up with a final score of 4. Now a score of 4 is okay, but it's not the best, especially when compared to other pistols like the SSP-18 or the EMG STI 2011. Now guys, I know a score of 4 isn't the best score in the world, but it is an absolute blast to shoot, looks very unique, and would do perfectly fine when you're just plinking in your backyard. But if you were debating on picking one of these up for a top performing sidearm, do keep in mind that this gun is not the best for that. You will be sacrificing some of that performance for the uniqueness and a crazy fun gun. And to wrap up this review of the Hudson H9, our final pros and cons list looks a little bit like this. Pros: you have phenomenal build construction. It's extremely reliable and dependable. We had 0 malfunctions throughout several weeks of firing this gun. It has crazy loud and very snappy blowback. A very, very clean and smooth trigger pull with a nice reset. The Hudson and H9 trademarks on the slide are a great addition, and it has a very unique and crazy comfortable grip. Cons: there are almost no replacement parts for this pistol that we could find pretty much anywhere. When the slide is retracted, there is a lot of outer barrel wiggle. There are pretty much no upgrades, and this is a very, very proprietary design, so don't plan on upgrading this thing. Its accuracy or consistency is just not really there. The iron sights on this pistol, even after us trying to adjust them, are just way off. In conclusion, this pistol is not for everybody, though if you were thinking of picking one up, we highly recommend it. It is an absolute blast, and I promise you won't regret it. Now to add to that, we just want to say that this review and every single review that we have done and will ever do is entirely made up from our honest opinions and observations, and we will never be paid nor influenced to say anything about a product. We want to avoid only pointing out the good things about airsoft products, and we will always be 100% transparent with you. And that about wraps it up for the video. I really, really hope you learned something from this, and please feel free to leave any questions you have down below in the comment section, even if they don't pertain to this individual product. We are here to help you out, and I'm sure various others will also see your comment and chime in with a suggestion or solution. Thank you all so much for watching all the way through the video. I can't thank you guys enough. If you did indeed like this video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. They're both completely free, and it means a ton to us. It also enters you into any giveaways that we do, so who knows, you might just win something for simply clicking a red button. And finally, feel free to check out our Instagram, where we share tons of airsoft related content, like our custom builds and crazy deals on airsoft guns. Alrighty, thanks again, and I will see you guys in the next video.